tell you about my best friend. He's a warm-hearted person who loved me till the end. People, let me tell you about my best friend. He's a one-boy cuddly toy, my up, my down, my pride and joy. People, let me tell you about him. He's so much fun. Whether we're talking man to man or whether we're talking son to son, 'cause he's my best friend. Yeah, he's my best friend. La la, ba da 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 ya, ba da 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 ba, ba da 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 ya, ba da da beep beep, bo bo bye, rubba dubba beep, bo bye, rubba dubba beep, bo bye, whoops.
Good evening and welcome to the David and Goliath show. I'm Kern and to my left here is David.
Hey everybody, and thank you again for taking the time out of your day to tune into unofficially our third show, officially I guess our second show. We have one lost in the archives from last week. That was really good. Colonel's here to my right. He was on his A game, but if you bring 10% of what you brought to the show last week, we'll be in pretty good shape. We'll see how it goes though. All right. Well, we're going to just jump right into this. We had a huge couple of weeks here in sports. The winter time has passed. We're springing forward. All kinds of things going on in football, baseball, basketball. Let's not waste anybody's time. Jump right into it. What do you got for us in NFL free agency?
In NFL free agency, I want to talk about a couple of things to begin with. And I want to I want to talk about, in my opinion, the team that's had the best offseason thus far and the team that I think has had the worst offseason. We're going to start with the best team. For me, I think the best team this offseason thus far has been the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And it's because they addressed a lot of needs. I think, they addressed their offensive line with Anthony Collins from Cincinnati. He started towards the end of the year last year. And he had a good run, a really good run. They actually wanted to keep him, and they couldn't afford him. And then they went out and they got another person from Cincinnati, that pass edge rusher, Michael Johnson. And people said, he slatched off. He only got 3.5 sacks last year, but he that was a 3-4. He's in a 4-3. I think better suits his skill talent.
All right. Well, I think interesting. Not a lot of people are going Tampa as their best team. You hear a lot of talk about some of the other teams, like Denver, for example, going out there and getting some big names, especially on the defensive side of the ball.
And I mean, for Denver, they have got some big names on the defensive side of the ball, but they haven't addressed anything on the offensive side of the ball.
Well, they had the best offense in the history of the NFL.
And then they did, but they lost 2 key players.
No Sean, you're not going back to No Sean, are you?
No Sean Marino and Eric Decker. and to No Sean, to his defense, he wasn't a better person on third down last year at the back. And the statistics speak for themselves.
They do a running. They have 3 or 4 running backs they can plug and play in there. Eric Decker, you can replace with, I might try out to take his spot. He got paid first string money recently here with who do you go to, the Jets.
Yes.
Congratulations for that, but he's just an average, mediocre receiver.
And time will tell. And you may be right. This time next year we could be here, sitting here talking. Tampa Bay could have had another lousy year, but in my opinion, they held themselves tremendously this offseason.
They had a big free agency last year as well. They signed a few pieces.
But I mean, you have
they don't have a quarterback.
That you don't know. Mike Glennon was the best rookie quarterback last year.
Yeah, we'll see. Absolutely. Well, I'm curious. Who do you have as your worst team in free agency?
My worst team in free agency, I think, is pretty much won this award the past 5 years in the Oakland Raiders. The Oakland Raiders had the biggest amount of money coming into the offseason. I think it was 50-something million, some odd dollars they had in cap space. Mm-hmm. And they can't give it away. Let's just be real. Nobody wants to play for the Oakland Raiders. And Al Davis, bless his soul, I think really – no. That's not, bless his soul. I mean, I think he's doomed the franchise for at least a couple more years. Or, Reggie McKinney, the GM, he's trying to give the money away. He can't even give it away. They signed Justin Tuck. He's a nice.
It's a good piece.
He's a nice piece. He's a nice piece, but he's not the player he once was.
No, of course not.
They signed Jones, the receiver out of Green Bay today.
Did they?
Yeah.
James Jones?
Yeah, James Jones.
Huh.
And
It's a good piece.
I think he'll help them. You know, they have a couple. You
They
know,
don't have a quarterback to throw it to him.
no,
Yeah, I know you like Terrell Pryor.
I like Terrell Pryor's.
His 75
tools.
passing yards a game. Yeah,
His tools
he's
are nice. He just needs
good tools.
He
Yeah.
needs an offensive coordinator that can work with him.
No.
But and for me, it pretty much sums up. You know, that's why the Oakland they re-signed Darren McFadden, injury prone. Yeah,
When healthy, he's one of the top 5 running backs in the game.
and he is, but he hasn't been healthy a full season since coming in the league out of Arkansas.
Yeah. I don't know. It depends how much you re-sign him to, I guess.
They got him 1 year, $4 million.
I don't see anything wrong with that.
And I don't see anything wrong with that, but they haven't helped themselves in the running game either to help Terrell Pryor, whoever's going to be the quarterback next year.
Terrell Pryor needs a lot more than a running game. he needs an arm replacement, a head replacement.
I don't agree with that. And we're that and for me, that's why the Oakland Raiders are the worst team thus far in all season. And they made
Jets are fighting them for it.
the Jets have made a couple of they got Eric Decker.
Horrible. They paid Eric Decker number 1 money. He's a number 3 receiver.
He was you can't
Yes.
say that.
Yes, I can.
mean, him and Demaryius Thomas had similar numbers last year. And Wes Walker,
Everyone in that offense had 10-plus touchdowns.
Yeah.
Everyone.
He walks on their field and immediately helps Geno Smith.
No, nothing can. Geno Smith and Terrell Pryor might as well
And like I said,
play the Canadian.
the Jets could help themselves. They still have more all season to go. They could bring in a Michael Vick and help him out a little bit, but
It might happen.
it might happen. That's what I'm saying. It might happen, but as of right now, Oakland Raiders, in my opinion, have been the worst team. And we're gonna bring it full circle and come back here to the Atlanta Falcons. And we made a couple of signings, and first and foremost, I want to congratulate Atlanta on getting it right, bringing Babs back, Babineau. He's been one of our cornerstone players, and
it's funny. We sat on this show a couple of weeks ago and said there's no way he's coming back.
Yeah,
We just wrote him off.
hey, I didn't think he would take a pay cut. In his he took a pay cut. He get 3 years, $9 million. And at this stage in his career, he's looking for the go home contract, the one. And he gave us the home discount, which I really like.
I heard a couple of people in the Atlanta radio market kind of criticizing Babineau's signing.
Oh man,
Basically because we're obviously going to a 3-4. And he doesn't fit your typical 3-4 defensive tackle, obviously.
He's a little faster than you might think. He could
Put him out on ends. I think it's more of a depth thing compared with, and I agree, I've heard other people in the Atlanta market saying, you got your 3-4, that means so much. You're doing your nickels, you're doing your dimes, It's 3-4 maybe every now and then on first and second round. That could be your base.
And to me, it's not all about just depth in the player. It's about leadership. It's about commitment. The commitment he showed us to this organization, so we want to show it back. And let him finish his career with Atlanta, And another good person that I like, I'm probably going to butcher his name. He's from Miami. It's the
Solia?
Solia. Yeah, I mean, I think he's going to be a tremendous player for us. And it's not that he was a tremendous player with the Dolphins. He was a good player, and he's going to immediately start. When we do slide into 3-4, he will play the nose tackle straight over the center, and he's big and he's strong, and he's going to stuff the run, I feel. And he did that a lot, with Miami. He is a very good run stopper, and that's something that we really lacked this past season.
That's a key point. I'm glad you brought it up. I did a little homework this week. I actually took some time out of my busy week and did a little research for this show. First of all, Solia, I have written down here, 6'4", 345 pounds. That's like a kern standing in the middle of that line, stopping people. And I'm sure you're probably going to get into this in a little bit. We got this Tyson Jackson fellow. You look at him, 6'4" again, 296 pounds. Gets a little. He's not a superstar by any stretch of the imagination. Although he was picked third in the draft in 2009.
And I'm glad you brought up Jackson because I was going to bring him up too. He's a nice piece. Like we say he's a nice piece. Jackson is a nice piece. We may have overpaid for him a little much.
See, I disagree. I think what no one's talking about. I think clearly what the Falcons' intentions were with these two signings.
Stop and run.
Amen.
And that's true. And one thing you got to look at, we have two of the teams in our division in Carolina and Tampa Bay are very good run teams. And Atlanta made a sign and well, this is another name I want to butcher.
I like to call him Asamoah.
Asamoah, yeah, that's what I actually pronounce it. It's Asamoah. He's going to immediately come in and start at your right guard. It's going to upgrade the offensive line. And one thing that the Falcons did that was kind of quiet that I really, really, really like is we re-signed Joe Hawley.
Yeah.
Joe Hawley came in at the end of last year and started at center and did a tremendous job. He did a tremendous. He did a tremendous job because if you notice those last couple of games that Peter Conz played, he was getting shoved into Matt Ryan's face.
Peter Conz did a horrible job.
Yeah, and Joe Hawley held us on. I mean, he played well for us at the end of the year, and I don't think it's an open competition this year. I think Joe Hawley starts from day one. I think that's a little bit of an upgrade for us.
Going back to our run game, though, and how much it's been so quiet, but I think on offenses and defense, how much the Falcons focused on run game. How god-awful were we running the ball last year. And Asamoah, he's not necessarily he's a mauler. Let's just put it that way. He's going to open holes for you that you can run through. They might think of re-signing Michael Turner because that's where Michael Turner succeeded. If he had a wide open hole, they can rumble through. But I think offensively and defensively, they can't say this because what did we hear a couple of years back? We need explosiveness. We need this and that. So they went explosive. They said, offensive line, defensive line, be damned. Let's go get some shiny toys to put on the outside and go fast. And it exploded in their face. Now, they can't say it because they look like hypocrites, but look at what they're doing. Nothing sexy. You got 350 pounds, Soliai. You got this guy, Tyson Jackson. Run stoppers, run makers. That's all they're going after right now.
And I agree with you. And Asamoah, he's a good player. And just one more position I want to talk about with the Atlanta Falcons. And we all agree that it was time for Thomas Deku to move on.
Whoa, we do? He was like your second favorite player on the team all these years.
Last year he had a bad year.
For those of you who haven't gotten the pleasure to know Kern and his sports opinions.
I really enjoyed Thomas Deku here up to last year. Thomas Deku couldn't tackle a child.
He can't play football. I've been telling you this for God knows how many years now. He made one Pro Bowl. It came out of nowhere. He misreads coverages. He can't tackle.
Misreads coverages. He had great picks for us in the past, 4 or 5 years.
He had great what?
Picks. He was a good coverage
when he got
guy.
hit in the face by the ball, he's horrible.
He couldn't tackle. And after all the missed arm tackles, I'm glad to see him go.
I'm glad to see you finally come around on that. Hey, by the way, this is a random thought. Is Major Wright still sitting out there for safety? Do you have that written down? Is he still out there? Get Major Wright, Falcons.
The one thing that I was talking about is, with the safety, and I got my top 3 safeties still available on the open market. And it's funny that he mentions Major Wright because Major Wright's my number 1 safety. And it's not because
hitter.
He is a hard hitter. He's still somewhat young, and he doesn't have all the the age and the number of games on him. So I think if we could sign him to a somewhat decent deal, and he could help us for 3 or 4 years.
An under-recognized piece of what was a dominant Chicago defense. He didn't get the credit because there's so many other big names on that defense, but he's a solid safety.
And I agree with you 100%. There's one more person that just came to mind. David brought up something and it came to mind. He was talking about the older guys. One more guy I think you more likely will see, the Atlanta Falcon is Champ Bailey.
Do you really think that?
I more and more
Is that emotion or is that mind?
It's a little bit of both. Let me tell you, emotionally, it's a great story. Mind is no one else is talking to him, and it is because he's older, and he can't run as good well. But you may see him as a slot corner next year for the Atlanta Falcons, and that wouldn't hurt my feelings. But as a safety, like he was saying, no, you're not a safety, Champ Bailey. Let's be real.
Champ Bailey would be a great towel boy, maybe water boy, maybe assistant coach on our team. You said a couple of key things there. He can't run. He can't jump anymore.
He can still slot cover. I mean,
no, he can't. He got killed in slot coverage last year.
No, slot cover, you don't have to run that big of a distance. He still has his awareness. He still got his eyes.
Yeah, he's not senile.
He can still jump the route. He can still jump the route.
All right. Well, that's not going to happen. So.
There's one more thing I want to cover, or I'm sorry, two more things I would like to cover in the NFL. There'll be a quick look. Teddy Bridgewater had his pro day today, and Mike Mayock, who I respect and I read a lot of his columns on NFL.com, he said that he had an average at best combine. He connected on 57 out of 65 balls. And he had 2 drops. He ran a 4.78, and for me, that doesn't do it. Doesn't affect his stock one way or the other. To me, if you need a quarterback, there's not many out there, and I think he'll still go high.
I'm on the record with what I think of Teddy Bridgewater. I'm not going to sit here and proclaim that I watched 10 Louisville games, but I watched a couple, including the Sugar Bowl the other year against Florida. Kid impresses me. I don't care. You know what's so funny about the NFL and the drafting? So much goes into these combines and these pro days and these drills. I think they lose sense of common sense sometimes. They forget what they watched for 3 or 4 previous years in actual games, and they put all their stock on these individual drills or this one exercise on pro day, and all of a sudden Teddy Bridgewater went from a no-doubter, best quarterback in the class, to second or third, now second round maybe.
Yeah,
it's ludicrous.
And I agree with you. And that's why I said I don't think it affects his draft status one way or the other.
It might actually affect it, though. It shouldn't, but it should. Because guess what? Guess who's still going to go high? Johnny Manziel. And guess who's going to suck in the NFL? Johnny Manziel.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't. If you're an owner, you're a GM, and you want a quarterback, and the tape tells the tale, so to speak, and that's why I don't think it'll affect his draft stats one way or the other. And the last thing I want to cover in the NFL, a segment for the day, is Jim Irsay, owner of the Indianapolis Colts. He gets the douchebag of the week, so to speak. We haven't had that out.
Well, we did on the first week, Jim Boeheim.
Douchebag, and it's not because he did something smug. He did something stupid. He had a DUI, driving under the influence, and he got caught with possession of 4 substances unknown. They haven't released that yet. Started 4 felonies, so to speak. And
reminds me of the old Georgia athletic director.
You're a billionaire, and what are you doing?
I heard he was the first owner since like 1997.
No, it was like 70s. I saw.
One or the other. It's been a long time.
But you're a billionaire. You own an NFL team. Get a driver. It's that simple.
How many times can that be said? I mean, God bless him. It's another sad story.
And it's a sad story, and it's a black cloud over the NFL right now, which they don't need. And
well, I hate to go from one dark cloud and sad story to another, but I guess we'll go ahead and do it. Let's just get all this rainy weather out of the way. Spring's coming, so let's get this rainy winter stuff out of the way, and then we can focus on beautiful things coming. But let's talk about another dark cloud in the Atlanta sports world. Braves. I don't want to say too dark, but it was looking pretty dark there for a while, no doubt.
It was, with the injuries to Beachy and Medlin. Set us back. We did sign Irvin Santana
I was going to say, all right, if you've been watching this show, you know I gave you 3 things to watch this spring training. BJ Ugla, Beachy. Well, one of those 3 are gone now, unofficially, officially gone.
He's seeking a second opinion from James Andrews, who you don't get a second opinion if you go see James Andrews, in my opinion. So I think he's clinging to that last little bit of hope, which I don't blame him.
So many people, though. I want to be cautiously optimistic about this, though, that it's not the end of the world. So many people were jumping off of interstate bridges when the Medlin thing came down, and all the media was playing it up like our ace, our number 1 is gone. First of all, the only thing I could think of is, whoa, you just told me 2 weeks ago we didn't have an ace. Now all of a sudden Medlin's this irreplaceable ace that everyone fell in love with. So now that he's gone, all of a sudden you love him so much.
Well, I mean, he was our ace. He wasn't an ace. He
wasn't even really our ace. He started the first game of the postseason. That's because he was so hot going into it. I remember 2 weeks before then, there was a legitimate debate between 3 pitchers who would start game 1.
And he still won 15 ball games that we got to replace, though.
And we got Irvin Santana.
Yeah, and who might have we overpaid for?
That makes no sense either. We signed him to a 1-year deal. It hurts us in $14 million. What does it matter?
It prevents us from maybe. I'm not saying the only time it will matter is let's say, heaven forbid, one of our players get hurt, and we're making a run and run the All-Star break. We can't go out and make a trade because we don't have any room.
And don't tell me you're going to go out there and get a 40 home run hit in third baseman. Irvin Santana was the best pitcher on the market, and we need pitching now.
And I agree with you. We got what we need. There's nothing else I would have done. I mean, I would just like to have made.
He was getting offers for $13 million from 2 other teams.
And, we did what we had to do. But I would ideally like to have had him for a little less money.
Doesn't matter. It's 1 year, no commitment. It was a must-need. Frank Grant, I don't know how he did it. He went and got the extra money from the owners and made it happen. I don't see any downfall in that, any downside at all.
And there's no immediate downside. The only downside, like I said, is heaven forbid one of our bats got hurt and we needed to make a deal.
He already went and got more money than was already there for him.
He did, and I applaud him for that. And he's, like we said in the past, I think he's one of the best general managers in baseball. And
John Sherholtz with him as president. I love what the Braves have done. I loved how they reacted to this situation. It's not a catastrophe for me. Losing Medlin, it's so funny how situations change things. And this is going back to what I was talking about earlier about everyone acting like Medlin was such a catastrophe. He's a good pitcher. And here's the one stat that bothers me so much that the media throws out there. He's won 3 out of 8 of the last National League Pitchers of the Year. I can't tell you how many times I heard that. 2 or 3 of those was in 2012 when he had that unbelievable run from August to September. People forget the first 90% of last season, he was a mediocre, okay pitcher.
Yeah. And, not to change course here and, venture from Medlin, I want to give you 3 names. And that is Julio Teheran. Now will be your opening day starter.
I'm fine with it.
I'm fine with that too. Day 2 starter, Freddie Garcia.
No.
Yes.
No.
Who?
Alex Wood. Alex Wood has been tearing it up.
Freddie Garcia hadn't looked bad.
Yes, he has.
No, he hasn't. His last 2 outings were decent. No, I've done my research on Freddie Garcia.
Really?
His last out, he threw 4 innings.
Okay.
Gave up, I think it was 2 hits.
Day 2 starter would be Alex Wood.
And that's debatable. And that's interchangeable. And to me,
you got old David Hale sitting out there.
And you got David Hale, and which is that's we're going to have those. That's going to be our 4 starters for the first 2 or 3 weeks of the season. Santana and Mike Martin won't be ready. And the only thing that scares me about that is you don't know what you're really going to get out of Hill.
I don't care. It's 2 weeks of a 12-month season.
But I don't want to fall behind early because if you're playing catch, I understand. You have to work with what you got.
But let's get off the dark notes and let's focus on the shinier, brighter days. And we'll stick with the Braves for a little bit because 1/3 of what I said to keep an eye on hit us in the face, but the other 2/3, Ogles and the BJ guy, turning around and looking pretty good.
What I like about what Uggla's done lately, he's not trying to overhit.
He's not.
He's hitting it where the ball is being pitched, and he's taking walks, which I really like.
Ogle's always been pretty good at walks. He just strikes out a lot with those walks. What I like is exactly what you said, though. I said it after his first spring training. He had 2 singles. He went 2 for 2 with 2 singles. I love seeing him hit singles. Today, if he got left in the game, he would have had a chance for going for the cycle.
Yeah.
Opposite field triple. Love opposite field triples. Those are great signs. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not going to false advertise. I haven't been sitting at home watching Braves spring training games all March. No. But I went back and looked at the stats with BJ Upton.
Yeah.
Lo and behold, he's doing good too.
He's
hitting 297.
He's hitting 297. And you have a little smaller sample size than Ugla. He's played a little less than Ugla.
How much though?
Yeah, not
much. He's had a good spring. He started off slow.
Yeah,
and he's picking it up.
He is. And what I like about what I see from him and what I hear, because as David, I haven't had the opportunity to watch as many spring games as some other people, but
unemployed people.
BJ Upton, he's making adjustments to where to pitching. As far as last year, he wouldn't make an adjustment if he held a gun to his head. He was going to go out there and he was going to do the same thing every time.
Same with Ugla.
Ugly. I think a lot, and in my opinion, I think a lot to do. His eyes are getting better after the surgery. He's starting to focus more in.
I hope so.
And I think
that's what they're going to sell to us, and I hope that's the truth.
But then time will tell. But we need them now without the pitching. We need them to.
Let's stop talking about off-season stuff.
Let's get right into the
March Madness, baby!
Yeah.
Let's get into the big stuff. We're going to lead right into it. First of all, let's not jump ahead of ourselves. We had the conference championships last week. Did you get a chance to watch any of those?
I watched a couple of games Sunday and a couple of games, a little later Friday, but Sunday was the most, I got to watch.
Good games. And for those of you who missed it, we do our trivia and our predictions every week. I won on trivia, by the way, so we both lost on predictions, though. We picked our conference champions, and we came out with the same. We picked Florida, Kansas, and who was the other one that we were similar with?
Florida, Kansas.
Duke, ACC. We picked the same 3 on those where we differed. I picked Arizona winning the Pac-12. He picked Oregon, which I'm sure he feels sorry for now.
Oh, boy.
And I picked Wisconsin winning Big Ten or whatever they call themselves, and he went Michigan. We both lost on that. So updates, we won't have a trivia this week just because we're doing this on a Monday night. Our interns aren't working today. So no trivia today. 2-1 is the standings. We'll move on from there. However, big games last week. Virginia coming through.
Oh, who saw that coming?
I saw it coming. I didn't predict it, but I saw it coming.
I think for me they came.
Virginia's a good team that no one talks about.
That's what I'm saying. They're a good team, but a 1 seed. I know they. I know they won the ACC tournament
and the ACC regular season.
Yeah, but
either way, ACC.
I didn't see. For me, I didn't see it coming, and it was a shock.
I told you 2 weeks ago on air.
You said watch out for Virginia.
Watch out for Virginia. Nobody talks about Virginia because no one does, and they're a solid basketball team. They're not great. There's no superstars on that team, obviously, at all, but they just play good, solid, fundamental basketball. I heard a quote from Dick Vitale, though, last night that is true about Virginia. In the same breath, as much as I'm talking great about them, they're a team that, because of the way they play and their talent level, they can beat anybody in this country. But they can just about lose to anybody in this country on a bad night.
And if you don't know if you remember, like I think it was 3 years ago when Duke lived and died.
By the 3? Duke always does that.
Nah,
Too much.
And that's for Virginia. If they're hot, they can play with anybody in the nation. If they're cold, and like you said, it gets a little ugly for them.
I agree. Big conference championship week, though. A lot of great games. Not too many surprises, I guess you could say. Michigan State obviously coming through. A lot of people are jumping on that bandwagon right now because of what they've done. Pac-12, we both missed. Just who knows what the Pac-12 is. First of all, their games come on at 11 o'clock at night.
We're in the bed.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't know.
Subpar basketball.
Subpar athletic stuff. They're too busy combing their hair and doing things that they do on the West Coast. But so I mean, the Pac-12 happened. Let's get into real basketball, though. The tournament's coming up.
Yeah.
This is big stuff. I mean, college basketball lives for 3 weeks out of the year, and we're hitting it, and we're going to hit it hard. I mean, I get excited, man. This is big stuff. You got to understand, January and February, you got the NFL playoffs, you got the Super Bowl, but other than that, the other 6 days of the week that would go on during that time, you have nothing. And the rest of February, you have nothing.
And then after that, all you got is hockey.
No, yeah, that doesn't exist.
Oh, boy.
So, I mean, this is big, man. I love March Madness. I love, just keeping up with everything. We're going to jump into the brackets. I'm going to let you start off. And what we're going to do is we're going to go over the first couple of rounds. We're going to pick our 3 upsets. I guess we both have 3 upsets.
I have 4.
Well, Kern's got a bonus for us.
Yes.
And then we're going to go over our Elite 8, Final 4. We're going to lay it on the table right now who the national champion's going to be and see where we go from there. So, first of all, let's stick with your upsets. Who's your 3+ bonus upset?
And for me, this one, the reason why I wanted to include another one, because this one is not too big of an upset for me. I have Stanford beating New Mexico, round 1.
What's Stanford?
Stanford is a 10 seed.
I told you 11 or higher.
Well, I don't have any of that, so these are my
10
upsets.
versus 7 is an upset.
These are my upsets.
I apologize.
My second upset is I have Harvard beating Cincinnati.
I have the same upset.
Yeah,
Same upset because Cincinnati, whatever they have.
Yeah, and Harvard, they're a solid
veteran team.
The second one, I have St. Joseph beating UConn. And UConn out of the first round,
All right, I didn't have that one. All right.
And my bonus.
Write this down.
My bonus, and you remember you told me before we were game planning for the show, you said we could pick out of the first 2 rounds.
Yes.
For me, I have Baylor upsetting Creighton in the second round.
No kidding.
Yeah.
All right. Any insight into that, or just because you like the mascots? Or?
Baylor, they played well down the stretch. They have a good big man, and they're on fire right now.
All right. Well, we'll see what happens. Anyone who watches the March Madness tournament, predicting things that happen in the first couple of weeks can be just about darn right impossible. But I got a couple of mine underlined. I'll start with my first one. I'll just piggyback off what you said. It's kind of funny. And a lot of people that I watched the bracketology thing last night. Harvard beating whoever the heck they're playing, Cincinnati. They actually have a 41% chance based off of bracketology, and it's just a senior team, and Cincinnati is just, I don't know. I just see that happening. Another one that I was unsure about, but I went ahead and put down with it, but it took a lot of time and thought. I got North Dakota State beating Oklahoma, and I love being honest here. I haven't watched any Oklahoma games, and I have not darn sure watched any North Dakota State games this year. But just looking over the big picture and doing research on these things, Oklahoma appears on paper to be one of those teams. They score like 81 points a game, but they also let up like 79 points a game. North Dakota State's one of those ugly defending teams. If they can get Oklahoma into a kind of ugly brawl, I think they have a shot. And that's how upsets happen sometimes. You get an ugly defensive game, you knock down a few threes. And the next one shouldn't be too big of a surprise. Well, it might be for you. This is a team that I've been plugging for about a month now, and I like their star, Marcus Smart. In the second round, you got Oklahoma State going against Arizona. We just talked about everyone in the West. They love combing their hair and talking about movies and drinking martinis. Oklahoma State's going to come in. Marcus Smart's going to punch him in the mouth. I got Oklahoma State taking down a number 1 seed. I don't know how Arizona got number 1 seed, but number 1 seed, second round, and moving on.
All right. That's interesting. I mean, that's definitely a different way to look at it with Oklahoma State. Marcus Smart, who I think is one of the best players in the bracket in the
college basketball. Yeah, absolutely.
But we're gonna move along, and like you said, we're gonna get into the Final Four. And I'm going to let you, since I led, I'm going to let you lead this time with your Final Four and your predictions from there on.
Final Four, again, I got the Fighting Gators beating Kansas and unhealthy. Maybe by that time a little more healthy, but still Gators better team. They already beat them once this year. Got Iowa State, I got Wisconsin, and I still keep Louisville. I got Louisville beating Duke in the Elite Eight. Duke, I love Jabari Parker. I love Rodney Hill. Duke doesn't play defense. I see Louisville penetrating the lanes all night long and just slashing and dashing Duke. What you got?
My Final Four, I have from Florida coming out of the South. Got Michigan State coming out of the East.
So you got Michigan State beating who in the Elite Eight?
I got Michigan State in the Elite Eight. I've got them beating Iowa State.
All right. It could happen.
And I got Arizona coming out of the West, beating Wisconsin. And Arizona, and the only reason why I go with Arizona is because I look at the bracket. They have the easiest way to me, the easiest.
I don't think they can beat Oklahoma State.
And I do. But for me, just looking at it, they have the easiest road. And that's the only reason why I'm going with Arizona. And I have Louisville coming out of the Midwest beating Duke.
All right.
And then I have Florida and Arizona in the championship.
And I got Florida, although I just talked high about Iowa State. I got Florida beating Iowa State. And I got Louisville, a number 4 seed, beating Wisconsin. Just their better team playing out. So I got Florida, Louisville, national championship. Who do you got?
I got Florida winning it all.
Say go Gators.
Make my bracket happen.
Say go Gators.
No.
Just say it.
No.
Just say it.
No.
I got Florida, Louisville, national championship, and I want people to understand.
Let me give one plug. Let me give one plug real quick. We have one Georgia team in the.
We're not going to talk Mercer.
In the tournament.
We're not going to talk about Mercer.
It's Mercer.
Don't interrupt me. I'm talking about. I almost gave my pick.
Oh my! Hurry up and go.
Florida, Louisville. I wanted to make the point that I didn't just pull this out of my behind willy-nilly. I actually did some thought about this last night. Because I've watched Florida. They're not a great, unbeatable team, and this could come back to bite me, and I am halfway worried about that. I'll tell you what, I love their defense. I love that 4 of their starters are seniors. I love their coach. I love their point guard. I like their center. I like when they're hot and they can do the three-point shooting. I like all those things. However, they don't have an NBA star on their team, and that's a true fact. When you look at other teams like Duke, even Louisville, Michigan State, they have bona fide NBA stars on their team, and Florida doesn't. They might have NBA draft picks, but not stars. That worries me a little bit. However, I don't know, when you look at the total package, you look at Louisville and their conference and who Louisville played this year.
Yeah, and for me, it's similar because in all facets of the game, they're a team.
Absolutely, they are.
And that's why I have them winning.
I do. So, go Gators. The Rowdy Reptiles take home the trophy.
And, again, I'm Kern.
I'm David.
This is David. We would really like to thank you for joining us for our second episode of the David and Goliath Show.
Third episode.
And have a good night.
Thank you, everybody.
All right.